Welcome to the sleep spell, where the world softens and your thoughts are allowed to exhale. You've made it here, and that's no small thing. You showed up for yourself. And maybe that's the first kind thing you've done for yourself today. This is your space now. No pressure, no judgment, no expectations. Just stillness, just story, just sleep. Maybe your day was heavy. Maybe your mind is racing, or maybe you're carrying something that no one else sees. Here you can put it down, all of it, just for a little while. This is your pocket of peace, your secret lantern in the woods, a place where stars listen and fairy tales remember your name. Let your jaw relax, let your shoulders drop, let your breath slow down. Nice and easy. You don't need to stay awake. You don't need to follow every word. The stories will keep speaking, even if your thoughts drift away. Think of this like a bedtime ritual, but for your heart and your soul. Here, you are safe, you are seen, and you are not alone. We tell our stories slowly, gently, like soft rain tapping on a cottage window. Each word is a step deeper into stillness. Each pause is a place for your spirit to rest. So if you need to cry, let the tears fall. If you want to smile, let your lips rise. And if your eyes start to close, that's exactly what they're meant to do. You're not too late. You're not too broken. You're not too much. You're just in the right place at the right time. Welcome to the sleep spell. And your next story is about to begin. Once upon a time, in a quiet village, not found on any map, there lived a girl named Elira. She had a strange gift. She could see goodbyes, not just hear them, not just feel them, but see them, floating like glimmering threads in the air. Each time someone said goodbye, a small light would drift through the wind, and Elira would catch it. She kept them in tiny bottles lined along the shelves in her attic room, rows and rows of softly glowing farewells, some whispered in doorways, some shouted in tears, some never said aloud, only felt in aching silence. She didn't collect them for power. She didn't keep them to control. She kept them because nobody ever seemed to hold space for how painful parting can be. So she did. Every goodbye had a memory, and every memory had a story, and on the loneliest nights, Elira would unscrew one bottle and listen. Tonight, she chooses a jar glowing silver blue. Its goodbye is small, but heavier than most. She uncorks it, and the memory begins. You may not remember giving it, but Elira saved it, and tonight she wants to return it to you. So close your eyes, breathe in, and listen. This is The Girl Who Collected Goodbyes. The girl had always known she was different. She didn't cry when people left, not because she wasn't sad, but because the goodbyes never left her. They floated in the air like dust motes. Some were warm and heavy like a blanket pulled from the dryer. Others were thin and trembling like a thread about to snap. And somehow Elira could touch them. In the attic of the cottage where she lived alone, there was a door most couldn't see. It wasn't on any blueprint, not even in the whispered legends of the forest town. But Elira had always known it was there. One night, when the moon was too full and the world too quiet, she reached for it. Her hand didn't shake. the door opened. Inside was a room made of stars, no walls, no floor, just glimmering light and silence. Shelves floated in the darkness holding jars, hundreds of them. Each one glowed softly, swirling with a soft-coloured mist. Elira stepped in barefoot. The jars hummed. These were her goodbyes. From the day her mother left without a suitcase, from the friend who never returned to school, from the boy who said he'd write and never did. They weren't just memories, they were pieces of people, emotions, regret, love, loss. She had collected them all, without ever trying to. Elira knew this room shouldn't exist. She knew it should frighten her, but it didn't. It felt like home, and in that moment she made a promise to herself. She would protect these goodbyes, because one day she might need to return one. Elira never rushed through the memories. She treated each one like a snowflake, too delicate to touch for long, but too beautiful to ignore. She kept the goodbyes safe, the whispered ones that caught in trembling throats, the loud ones shouted across train stations, the silent ones mouthed through glass with tearful eyes. They weren't just words, they were stories, endings that shaped beginnings, pain that created space for healing. She didn't judge them, you know, not even the ones filled with anger or fear or the ache of not being enough. Some she cradled for years before they let go of their weight. Others were light, like feathers caught in wind. But one evening, while following the trace of a fading goodbye through the trees, Elira felt something strange. It was as if the forest was holding its breath. The fireflies hovered still. Even the wind didn't dare rustle the leaves. She reached the edge of a quiet clearing, and there, resting on a bed of moss beneath the roots of an old willow, was a goodbye she hadn't collected before. It shimmered faintly, different from the others, cooler, lonelier. She reached out. They gentiline stare on there, and the moment her fingers touched it, a feeling pulsed through her chest. Not hers, not from the forest, it was yours. This goodbye belonged to someone else entirely, someone watching, someone listening now. Elira held it in her palm, warm now, as if recognizing you. It was the goodbye you never meant to say, the one that slipped through cracks when you weren't ready. She didn't keep it. She never did with goodbyes that still had a heartbeat. Instead, she whispered into it softly, "You're not alone." And just like that, she pressed it to her heart and turned back toward her lantern path, leaving space for a new story to begin. Let's go deeper, into the stillness beneath the trees. Elira held the glowing orb close to her chest, her fingers cradling it like a fragile dream. It pulsed gently, as if it knew it had finally been found. She didn't know why, but this one goodbye was different. She tiptoed through the forest, her silver hair brushing against her shoulders, until she reached the edge of the lake, the place where memory met moonlight. She knelt down, closed her eyes and listened. The orb shimmered and opened. Inside, Elira saw a memory not her own, a room, small, with paper stars taped to the ceiling, a little child standing by the window, holding a plush animal tightly. Their hands trembled. They whispered, "Don't go." But someone did. Elira felt it, the weight of that moment, a goodbye so quiet it had no voice left, so lonely it had hidden itself away. And then she saw something else. A shape, a shadow, a person. You. She saw you, curled under blankets in a dim room, years older now, eyes flickering open in the dark, wondering if someone would ever understand. Elira's breath caught. This goodbye had waited a long, long time, and now it had found its way home. She pressed her hand gently to the orb and whispered, "I see you. I remember for you." And just like that, the orb melted into stardust. Not vanished, no, set free. Elira stood slowly. She looked up at the stars, and one of them blinked a little brighter. You don't have to carry that weight alone anymore. She had taken it, kept it, held it safe, and now the forest knew your name. But this wasn't the end. Elira could feel it. Another goodbye was calling her name, and she would follow. Elira stood before the stone door, her small hand resting lightly against the cool surface. Etched across the stone were symbols, glowing just faintly, like tired stars. She couldn't read them, but her heart understood. It was a door meant for sorrow, a place where forgotten goodbyes could finally rest. She placed the bottle she had found, the one with the goodbye that didn't belong to her, on the mossy pedestal nearby. It pulsed once, a soft light blooming from within. Then the stone door responded. A hum filled the clearing, not loud, but ancient, like a lullaby sung by the trees themselves. Inside the door revealed a hidden chamber, not of darkness, but of memory. Rows upon rows of tiny glass bottles, each glowing softly, each one a farewell. Elira stepped in gently. She felt it before she saw it, a whisper curling toward her like a warm breeze. "You found one of mine." Elira turned. There, standing in the amber glow of memory, was a boy. He looked no older than she was, but his eyes were ancient with grief. "I lost it," he said. "My goodbye. I didn't mean to. I was too small to hold it." Elira nodded gently. "It was waiting for you." She handed him the bottle. He held it close, eyes glistening with relief. Not sadness, but peace. Then, in a shimmer of light, he faded. Not gone, just released. The chamber fell silent again, but Elira's heart wasn't heavy. She understood her purpose wasn't just to collect goodbyes. It was to carry them, guard them, and return them when the time was right. And so she turned, back through the forest, back through the mist, her satchel a little lighter now, but her spirit shining brighter than ever. She would find the rest, one goodbye at a time. Elira stepped through the weathered archway, her shoes kissing the moss-covered path that curved into the hush of another forgotten goodbye. The deeper she walked, the more the air began to shimmer, thick with the ache of memories not yet grieved. The forest here was hushed, reverent. Trees leaned in close like old friends holding their breath. Light came not from above, but from below. Tiny glowing words swirling at her feet, whispering fragments of sorrow. "Don't go. Please stay. I wasn't ready." She bent low, letting her fingertips graze the glowing script, and the words clung to her skin like frost. One in particular, traced in silvery blue, pulsed against her hand. She could feel its weight. This was no ordinary goodbye. It was yours. A feeling came over her, deep and intimate. It wasn't just a memory. It was a fracture, still open, still raw. A goodbye that was never spoken. Or maybe one that came too soon. She didn't know the name, not yet, but the ache sang like a name in her chest. Elira brought the fragment to her heart, whispering, "I'll keep this safe for now." Then, as if summoned by her promise, The path opened into a circular glade, where memories flickered like lanterns hanging from invisible threads. She stepped among them carefully, each one a goodbye suspended mid-air. Some flickered gently, a quiet farewell at a train station, a last wave at the end of summer. Others burned, a slammed door, a phone call that never came, an empty room. Elira turned slowly, her eyes catching one that shone like moonlight soaked in tears. This one was yours too. She could feel it, the way it trembled, like a voice trying to stay strong. She reached toward it, but it shied away. Not yet. "I'm not here to take it from you," she whispered, "only to hold it until you're ready to let go." And with that, the lantern stilled, and slowly it began to glow. She didn't speak at first, just knelt before the unicorn, her fingers hovering just above his fur. "You waited for me," she finally said. And in her heart, she felt his reply, not with words, but with something deeper, a kind of knowing, the kind that children have when they remember something they never should have forgotten. The unicorn bowed his head, the tip of his horn gently brushing her shoulder, as if anointing her with peace. She felt warmth travel through her bones, like sunlight threading its way into the darkest corners of her soul. Not joy, not sadness, but acceptance. The kind that says, yes, the goodbye hurt, but look, you're still here, you're still whole. And the unicorn turned slowly and walked toward the moonlit clearing behind him. Elira followed, her bare feet brushing over moss and fallen petals. They stopped before a silver pool, the mirror of then. And when she looked into it, she didn't see her face. She saw her mother. Not just her face, but her voice, her laughter, the way she tucked in Elira's hair behind her ear, the goodbye, the grief, the love. The unicorn's reflection stood beside it, unchanged, timeless. Elira wept, not because she was broken, but because in that moment she realized she wasn't. The pool shimmered again, and then her own reflection returned. Older, wiser, stronger. Her cheeks were wet, but her eyes shone like stars, wide open and full of hope. She smiled at her reflection and whispered, "Thank you for never giving up on me." She turned to the unicorn, ready now not to say goodbye but to carry her story forward. Elira stood on the cliff's edge now, the bag of goodbyes held to her chest, warm against her skin. The last feeling had settled inside, the goodbye that had waited the longest. It was her own. A goodbye she'd never said out loud, to a version of herself who never got to grieve. To the little girl who waited for someone to come back. She didn't cry, she simply breathed, deep and long, as if this was the first time her lungs had tasted air that didn't belong to someone else's pain. Behind her, the cliff was still. Ahead, the sky stretched open like a promise. The goodbye had become a beginning. She turned toward the path, not back to the village, not back to the whispering trees or the shadow of old grief, but forward to where the wind felt like a greeting, to where she no longer had to carry everyone else's endings. She had finally collected her own. Thank you for wandering through the woods with Elira tonight. If her story brought you any comfort, you're welcome to come back to it. Any time you need to remember that your goodbyes matter. And some of them are just the beginning. We'll see you again under the next spell. Until then, drift softly and rest well.